Millennials, if you're similar to me, you're an independent for one of the following reasons. You don't trust the government, you question the establishment and institutions, or you agree that political parties are bull. In today's episode, I want to explain why taking independentvoting.org's latest survey is not only crucial to the indie voter movement, but also to our generation as millennials. So stay tuned for this episode. In case you haven't noticed, I'm Jarrell Corley, host and creative director of The Independent, a YouTube channel dedicated to bringing you updates from the independent voters movement. Eventually, I'd also like to talk about my beliefs and viewpoints as well. But first, a quick side note about that. There will be times when a portion of you might not agree with everything I have to say, but that's okay, because being a millennial is about authenticity and being your true self, even though most of us are fake as hell. But hey, if you don't know anything about independentvoting.org, I want you to know that this organization was created on the premise that people from different backgrounds and political beliefs could work together to change the most pressing issue facing our democracy today: closed primaries. And now, without further delay, let me heed the tone of the directors getting all Steven Spielberg and Indiana Jones on me, and let's get this ball rolling. If you had not noticed, independentvoting.org released a survey about a month ago entitled Confronting a New Reality, Independents Speak Out. President of independentvoting.org, Jackie Salick, asked me to make this video explaining why it is important that we as millennials take this brief survey. Millennials are oftentimes wrongly accused of being self-centered, spoiled brats who complain too much about their circumstances rather than finding solutions. Although we weren't handed the best of circumstances, with a nice portion of us graduating either at the beginning or shortly after the Great Recession, as one who is on the cusp of the millennial generation, I understand it is a difficult time trying to start adulthood under the present circumstances. Nevertheless, I also believe we are not given credit for the fact that our generation is actually more civically involved and volunteer-oriented than generations before us. With that being said, we must understand that it is up to us to make the change that we seek. We can no longer afford to sit back and watch as the generations before us make short-term decisions that will have long-term consequences for our generation. The time to act is now. So how can we start on this path to take what is ours? Well, for starters, we can start by participating in this survey. A constitutional amendment that will appear on one thing.
Yo, man, this guy's interesting, man.
I
I really like his videos.
Yeah. The president. No, let's see.
Floridians will have their say about the stronghold.
Yo, you look familiar. Do I know you? What's your name?
I'm Jarrell Corley.
Oh, you the independent. What are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just here on behalf of the American voters, trying to spread the word about the independent voter movement. But if you don't mind, I'd like to take a few minutes of your time. Do you mind taking the survey real quick?
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
All right, thanks, brother, thanks. So how is participating in a survey helping us make change? Think of this survey as reconnaissance. This survey will assist the multitude of organizations fighting for open primaries understand the needs and wants of independent voters. If we can understand who we are as a voting bloc, we can create a collective identifiable message that resonates with other independent voters who share our sentiments. This survey will assist the multitude of organizations fighting for open primaries understand the needs and wants of independent voters. If we can understand who we are as a voting bloc, we can create a collective identifiable message that resonates with other independent voters who share our sentiments. For if we cannot connect with other independent voters, how will we do numbers and grow our movement? If we cannot grow our movement, how will we make noise? If we can't make noise, how will our voices be heard? And finally, if our voices can't be heard, how will we fight for the change we seek? This survey is critical as we move forward in the fight to change our democracy. If we are able to understand what we as independents want, leaders within the movement can organize separate organizations, move as a singular unit around the issue that matters most, opening the primaries so all voters can vote. In past presidential cycles, 1988, 1996, 2008, and 2012, there were attempts to move forward on the road to the White House. And in 1988, Dr. Lenore Finale kicked it off and became the first woman and first African American to have ballot access in all 50 states. In 1996, during the Reform Party nominating process, Ross Perot was a third-party candidate nominee and also won ballot access in all 50 states. Although neither of these candidates won, their actions were influential in future attempts to run presidential candidates outside the two major party primaries. In 2008 and 2012, similar reform movements tried to establish a separate primary to select a candidate. However, both attempts failed. Regardless of this failure, it is important to remember the wise words of the late R&B star Aaliyah. If at first you don't succeed, brush yourself off and try again. Brush yourself off and try again. Try again. Again. Thus, we need to try again, but only with your help. We want to know whether independents should start organizing its own primary to choose a presidential candidate to take the White House in 2024. Obviously, this would be quite the feat, and even more so because of the extra restrictions placed on independent candidates. But wouldn't it be groundbreaking if independents started organizing primaries more often to gain momentum and 1 year sweep in underneath the two major political parties and take the White House? Marking one of the most important moments in American history, a moment so monumental that it could potentially open the floodgates for positive change. Change unchained by the tentacles of the two major parties and the special interest groups that buy our politicians and ignore the will of the people. Change that could actually inspire you to dream and create a prosperous future, not only for you, but for generations to come. Yes, this will be a marvelous, wonderful occurrence, but first things first. We must gauge interest to gain your backing so our actions won't be in vain. So please, take the survey. We must start now, and we can start by taking this survey. We have quite the feat ahead of us as we are talking of holding an all-independents primary to select a presidential candidate in 2024. Winning will be damn near impossible, but we must remember that winning is not the most important issue at hand here. Growing our movement and shedding light on how closed primaries impede our democracy is what is most important. We can only do this if we come together and unify behind this message. All this starts with this simple survey. The movement is counting on your participation, so please participate. The link is below in the description section, so please click on it and take the survey. Remember to free your mind, and until next time, free the voters.